Hey guys, well, it's that time again, the end of the year. And I thought 2019 was a pretty good year for horror movies. Not every horror movie that came out this year was good, but overall, had a pretty good run this year. And I know you're probably thinking, I haven't done many videos as I normally do, so I didn't do that many videos this year as I usually do. Well, and here's the reason why. As you may remember, I've mentioned in one of my videos that I actually moved into a new house, so basically, it's not as easy to do videos in this one as it was in my last place. Also, another reason is because I've actually been doing reviews for a friend of mine's show called Unger the Radar. I've already been on the show 5 times. I've been on the show for reviews of movies like John Wick Chapter 3, Annabelle Comes Home, It Chapter 2, Joker, and Terminator Dark Fate. So, I recommend you check out my friend's show. It's called Unger the Radar. And so, I'm going to leave the link to his YouTube page so you can watch it. It's going to be right in the description box there below. So, check it out. So, as I do every year at the end of the year, I always show what I think is the best horror movies of the year. So, these are actually my picks of the best horror movies of 2019. And I do know that, there's going to be some disagreements. I know not every movie I have here is ones that people like, but this is all opinion based. If you don't like any, I should probably say any, but if you don't like some of these movies, that's fine, your opinion, just like this is my opinion as well. Alright, so let's get started. So, one of them I chose was I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu. I did do a review of this one, so I thought this was a pretty good one. I mean, I know a lot of people didn't really like this one, and I can see why. I mean, the main problem was pretty much that, this movie was 2.5 hours long, something that this really did not need to be. This didn't need to be 2.5 hours long. They could have at least cut a half hour out of it for it to be maybe just 2 hours or just a little under 2 hours. There was so much stuff that dragged quite a bit. They could have at least trimmed some scenes or taken some scenes out. It would have been fine. But I really did like they got Camille Keaton back, reprising her role as Jennifer Hills 40 years later. I also thought the actress played her daughter, Jamie Burdennett. I hope I pronounced that name right. She was pretty good. I also did like the story of how the families of the guys who raped her and left her for dead all come back for revenge on her after she killed them. So I really did like that story. So it wasn't the usual rape revenge as the other I Spit on Her Graves were, with the exception of that I Spit on Her Grave 3 movie. So I really did like that. This basically had the look and feel of the original movie. And this was directed by the director of the original movie, Mir Zarchi. So it was cool seeing him back directing again. And so overall I did like this movie. Another one I chose, this is another one that's going to get some mixed opinions, is Candy Corn. So I could see why this one would get mixed opinions. So, there was times it was kind of boring, kind of a slow burn at times. But, I'm a bit of, a sucker for Halloween-themed horror movies, so I really did like the Halloween theme it had, the Halloween atmosphere. I also did like the look of the killer in this. I also did like the appearances from Tony Todd and PJ Souls. I also did like the kills in it, mostly done with practical effects, but I didn't really like the way they filmed them, though, how they filmed them pretty shaky or close up, or we just see the aftermatch. So it kind of had a cheap look for that. Another one I chose is Escape Room. So I thought this was a pretty cool, pretty intense horror movie. I mean, it reminded me of the Cube movies. It's because it has the similar premise of these strangers who just meet for the first time in this massive complex. So it's the same concept of that, but this in general a horror themed escape room. So basically these strangers just meet for the first time. They're put in this escape room, and then they have to find ways to escape the escape room before they get killed. Another one I chose was Haunt, another Halloween-themed horror movie. Like I just said, I'm a little sucker for that. This was made by Shudder, which I actually subscribed to them this year just to watch the Creepshow TV series. And I will say that Creepshow TV series was really cool. I recommend it. If you're a fan of the Creepshow movies, you'll really like that movie. Anyway, so back to this. So, this was a pretty cool horror movie. This was pretty much about, like, you know, these friends who want to go to this Halloween haunt, only to, like, you know, find out this Halloween haunt is actually pretty much run by, like, you know, these psychos. So they basically are trapped in the haunt, trying to escape it before they get killed. So I actually really do like the whole theme of the Halloween haunt thing. So, and actually I went to a Halloween haunt this past Halloween season, so those are really cool. Another one I chose is Happy Death Day to You. I did not like this movie as much as the first movie. It wasn't as funny or as fun in general as the first one. I also wasn't really a big fan of, like, them explaining where the loop came from, because I thought it was better in the first one, where how the loop was just happen just basically randomly. But I did like, though, that it wasn't just the exact same movie all over again. I did like how this is, like, set now in an alternate universe, so, like, basically everything's changed now. She thinks it's the same thing, but she basically has to, like, she finds out it's not the same, and she has to, like, figure out how to get back to her world. But meanwhile, she's trapped in the loop again, trying to escape, of course, the killer, that babyface masked killer. So, this was overall still a fun movie in general, and I really did like it. Another one I chose is Trick. This was directed by Patrick Lucia, who directed My Bloody Valentine 3D. He also directed White Noise 2 and Drive Angry. And it was also written by Todd Farmer, who wrote My Bloody Valentine 3D and Drive Angry. So, like, you know, I liked both of them, so I thought they were pretty good writers and directors. So, I checked this movie out, and this was pretty cool as well. It's basically about, like, you know, this guy who goes crazy. I should probably say a kid. This kid who goes crazy on Halloween, kills people, and then, like, you know, they think they killed him, but he actually escapes and disappears. And then, like, you know, every Halloween he comes back and kills random people. They basically are trying to figure out, like, you know, how to catch him, so he's able to, like, throw off the police, basically wearing different masks and different makeup. So I really did like the Halloween theme this had. I also really liked the, you know, because this in general was a throwback 90s slasher movie, so if you're into, like, 90s slasher movies, you'll definitely like this. Another one I chose was The Prodigy, and I kind of feel this movie has kind of been forgotten about a little bit, and I can kind of see why. It is a little forgettable, but I did like the atmosphere. I also thought the kid was pretty creepy. The music was also pretty cool as well. And I also did like the story, basically about, like, you know, this serial killer who gets killed, and then, like, he gets reincarnated into this baby, and then as, like, you know, the baby gets older, he starts, like, you know, basically showing signs of that serial killer. So the kid is played by the kid who played Georgie in the It movies. And I thought he was pretty good. So he actually did a pretty creepy performance, and overall this was actually a pretty good movie. And this is one that's going to get some mixed opinions on this one, because I do know there's people who didn't like this, but there's some people who did like it. But I personally did like it, and that's Pet Sematary. And I do know that, like, you know, a lot of people, like, you know, would really compare this to the original movie, like, you know, saying the original movie's better and whatnot, all that stuff. But here's the thing, is, like, how I did like the original movie, but I never loved the original movie. The original movie was never, like, my go-to horror movie. Like, I watched it constantly or anything like that. It was good, yes. But, like, you know, I rewatched it to get ready for this one, and, well, it's still good, but there's some stuff in it that doesn't hold up. Like, I thought the main guy in the original movie, he, like, you know, kind of gave a bland performance. But Fred Gwynne from the original movie was really good, though. And I thought this one, like, the main guy who was played by Jason Clarke was actually better. But however, John Lithgow, who plays Fred Gwynne's character, like, he wasn't as good as Fred Gwynne. And, like, I could see there is problems with this, because they're like, there's times, like, there's, like, so much exposition, like, so much explaining here and there. Kind of got boring at times. But, like, I do know there was also people who didn't really like the changes they did from the book, as well as the original movie, into this one. But, I don't know, I wasn't bothered by it. Neither was Stephen King himself. And Stephen King actually did like this movie. And so, like, it also made sense that they would change it because of, like, the stuff they say to the daughter, the dialogue, scenes that led up into the changes they made. So, it didn't bother me at all, and I thought this was a worthy remake. Of course, the original did have more creepy imagery, so this one wasn't as creepy as the original movie. But I liked it. And this was another remake that actually, this one surprised me because I thought this was going to suck. And that is the Child's Play remake. Like, pretty much I thought it was going to suck because I wasn't really liking the direction they were going in by making Chucky an AI instead of a possessed doll. And also, like, the original creator, Don Mancini, showed no support for this movie at all. So, with, like, no support from the original director or even the original cast, so I thought it was pretty much going to suck, but I saw it, and I actually was surprised at how good it was. I mean, like, so the things with, like, the AI actually worked. Like, I did like how Chucky was able to control other machines. I did like, I also did like Mark Hamill as the voice of Chucky. He was pretty good. I also thought the kids were pretty good. As well as also Aubrey Plaza was also pretty good as well. I also did like the kills. And overall, it was actually a pretty good, surprisingly good remake. Not as good as the original, but pretty good. Another one I chose was Nightmare Cinema. It's another Shudder movie. So, 2 Shudder movies on this list. So, this was actually a pretty good anthology horror movie. It's basically like 5 people go into this movie theater and they watch on the screen, like, their biggest fears. So basically it's like they're put in, like, these movies watching themselves get killed. And it's like different genres of horror movies. Like, one was like a slasher movie, one was like, basically a like a sci-fi one, and one was like, a thriller. So it's like basically all different, like, types of horror movies all meshed into one. So basically this should like, be a good time for any horror movie fan, just like me. Another one I chose was 3 from Hell. This was Rob Zombie's best movie in years. Because after he made The Devil's Rejects, he made, like, a slew of, like, either bad or just okay movies. Like, he made Halloween, which I thought was good, but it's not as good as the original. And then he also made Halloween 2, which I didn't like. He made The Lords of Salem, which I did like. But, like, it wasn't great, but I liked it, though. He also made 31, which was alright. But this was his best movie since The Devil's Rejects. I mean, I really did like that, seeing, like, these characters again, seeing Bill Moseley, Sherry Moon Zombie, and also the late Sid Haig all back. So they were all great, seeing them reprising their roles. Like, basically, I didn't think we'd ever see these characters again after what happened in The Devil's Rejects. Like, and that's basically, like, was my only, well, I should say it's just one of my complaints, is, like, I didn't really like that they just somehow survived being gunned down at the end of The Devil's Rejects. But overall, though, it was really cool seeing these characters back after all these years. I also did like the new character played by Richard Brake. He was pretty cool. I know Richard Brake from 31 as well as also from Batman Begins, so he was pretty cool. I also did like, how intense, basically action-packed it got at the end. And so, hope to see, like, more movies from Rob Zombie soon. I hope, like, he's basically, like, he went right back to his original roots with this one, and I hope, like, he makes good movies. So, good movies again. So, another one I chose, and this is one I reviewed on Unger the Radar, and that's Annabelle Comes Home. And so, like, this wasn't the best Annabelle movie. It was better than the first Annabelle movie, but not better than Annabelle Creation. Like, Annabelle Creation had, like, a better location. Like, I liked the desert setting. I also thought it was more scary, more suspenseful. This had some pretty good suspenseful scares, but however, there was times it was kind of slow, kind of boring. I also, like, felt the story they did was kind of just felt like a story they could have just used for a straight-to-DVD sequel. But it's overall one of the better Conjuring movies. I mean, it was better than the first Annabelle. It was also better than The Nun, and better than The Curse of La Llorona. But not better than Annabelle Creation or the first two Conjurings. Another one I chose was Ready or Not. So this was a pretty cool movie. It was basically about this girl who marries this rich guy, and on the night of their wedding, like, her husband's family makes her play this hide-and-go-seek game. So they basically have to, like, find her and kill her and perform this this ritual on her, or else they're gonna all die. So I really liked that concept, and I really did like, basically, the I thought the performances were also good. I also liked the setting, like the mansion setting, the atmosphere, all pretty cool. Another one I chose is Crawl. Basically the newest movie directed by Alexander Aja, who directed The Hills Have Eyes remake. I mean, he hasn't directed a movie, I think, since Horns. I think that was the last movie he directed. So it was good seeing him back and seeing him making another good movie. So this is basically about this girl who's, like, going to get at her dad, like, during this big hurricane. But then, like, she finds her dad, like, basically trapped in this crawl space in the basement of their house, and they get trapped by these alligators. So now it basically becomes a fight for survival for the both of them, like, trying to escape out of the house from the alligators, as well as also the storm. So it was a pretty cool, very intense movie. And now the other movie I reviewed on Unger the Radar, and that is It Chapter 2. So, I did not like this as much as the first It movie. Like, I just thought the first one was more scary, more fun, as well as also I thought the kids were better in the first one. Not saying that the actors in this one were bad. They were good. I thought, like, James McAvoy, Bill Hader, Jessica Chastain were all good. Even, what's his name? Bill Skarsgård was also good as well. So they were all good. I also did like the set pieces, the visuals, as well as also, like, I did like the fact that this, like, gave closure to the first movie. It closed it ended everything that the first one left open. So it was a good companion to the first one, just not as good as the first one. And another one I chose, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So I really did like this one a lot as well. I mean, I really did like the setting it had. I really did like the monsters. Like, there's times, like, it got very intense. I just really liked the whole thing, like, when they read this book and these monsters come to life. Like, they basically, it's like killing off the kids one by one. I also really did like the visuals. I like the looks of the monsters, mostly done with practical effects. And, like, I do know that, like, this was, like, based off of, like, books as well. Like, and I really did like how they made the monsters look just like how they do in the books. So this was a very cool movie. It was produced by Guillermo del Toro, who we know from, like, movies like Hellboy, Pan's Labyrinth, as well as many other movies. So it's definitely a very good movie produced by him. Okay, so I got three more, which I don't have on Blu-ray, sadly, but I'm going to say them right here, right now. And that is Us. That was a very good movie. That was directed by Jordan Peele. I didn't like it as much as I liked Get Out, but like, it was still overall a good movie. I mean, I really did like the whole thing, like, these doppelgangers from another world. Like, it's basically they come right into our world to like kill off their doppelgangers, and they want to basically just take over the Earth. So it's the whole world, not just like our main characters. Another one I chose was Midsommar. Like, that was a very creepy, very atmospheric horror movie. Like, it was very colorful too, and times very disturbing. Like, it was basically like, a movie that makes your skin crawl. And it was directed by, if I remember correctly, it was directed by the director of Hereditary, which was another good horror movie as well. Very similar style to it as well, like very eerie. So, it's definitely one of the best movies of the year as well. And my last one I also chose, and this is probably my favorite one, and that is Doctor Sleep, the sequel to The Shining, which was actually like a big surprise, like how good it really was. And it was directed by Mike Flanagan, who I actually think is the future of horror. Like, he's not made one bad horror movie at all right now. He's got a very good track record, and I look forward to seeing more horror movies from him. And like, I really did like Ewan McGregor as Danny Torrance. I also did like the whole story of like, this like cult of people who have like the same power as him, The Shining. Like, they basically are hunting like other people or kids that have that power as well, so they can like basically absorb their shining and live longer. And I also really did like that they went right back to the hotel from The Shining. So I really did like how the climax took place in that. And I think that's about it. So I look forward to seeing more horror movies coming out in 2020. I'm looking forward to mostly to Halloween Kills, but obviously our first horror movie is The Grudge. So that's about it. So see you guys later. Bye.